Hey guys, Dean here. It is Tuesday, May 19th. Vlog episode 16. I've taken a few days off. It was the long weekend and hope you guys had a good one. Here's a couple thoughts that are swirling around in my head. First is this news just came out today. Joe Rogan struck a $100 million deal to move his podcast exclusively over to Spotify. $100 million. Here's a couple thoughts that I have on this deal. One, kudos and congrats to Joe. It's a lot of dough. Good move. That's awesome. Congrats. The guy has, as of today, and it is, like I said, May 19th, 2020, 1,476 episodes, and his average time length is 2.5 to 3.5 hours. That is a surmountable amount of content. I don't think anyone else comes even close in terms of the amount of content that comes out of the JRE podcast. And this might have, I'm sure, haunted him by now. He's referred to as the Fear Factor guy. He has a couple jokes in his Netflix special, which are pretty funny, as he talks about that's how some people remember him from. And now he does podcasts. This is really great for podcasters in general and creatives and people in the space that are doing podcasts to maybe reconsider, I know I am, about where you push your content and do you want to go exclusive. I think for new podcasters that are just coming out, one thing to keep in mind is content is king. Joe Rogan has pushed out a lot of content, and content that swings on all sides of the spectrum. He has done a beautiful job at being as objective as possible, listening, having conversations, being curious, and seeing someone, seeing a creative be awarded a lot of money is something that excites me because I grapple with the artistic space, and when you put a dollar value on something that's creative, it's very subjective. So you're going to get people on all sides of the spectrum of think that it's worth nothing, and then people that think a podcast is worth $100 million. But he has produced so much content. It is crazy. I've been doing these vlogs for the last 2 weeks. The average is anywhere from 8 to 20 minutes. And the amount of time that it takes pushing out this by myself, sharing it on different platforms. Granted, he has Jamie, his right-hand man that records everything, splices up videos, has been with him since day one, does a lot. It's not just Joe, he's got a team that's helping him. But it does take hours to push out content. And when you're pushing out 2.5 to 3.5 hour episodes, and you're doing multiple episodes per week, it's a lot of content. So good for him. That's awesome. For people that didn't know what podcasts are just getting into podcasts, or podcasters that are out there, don't do it for the money. Don't go into this space for the money. I don't know. I hope that people don't go all money crazy in like focusing that as their king intention, their top intention for going into podcasts. I think Joe went into it because it was a new space. It was creative. You got to meet interesting people along the way, have great conversations, build relationships. He's a curious guy. That's awesome that there was value in that just personally, and then he's also benefiting financially, and has been for a long time, because he's been doing it for years now, over a decade. I think I heard, I think it was, might have been on the Tim Ferriss podcast, talking about when to monetize your podcast. And I think rule of thumb is you need to reach 15,000 followers or listeners. Once you hit that 15,000 mark, then you can start to think about monetizing your podcast. So that's interesting. That's something that I have in the back of my mind. I haven't made a single cent on doing podcasts. That's not why I got into it. Eventually, it would be great to have the podcast be a source of revenue, and would be totally open to looking at sponsorships, partnering up with different organizations, products that I think would be really neat and would vet and do a good job at not just taking money from anyone, but actually there has to be some value, some connection to me personally as well. There has to be some all around good benefits. And I've listened to a number of creatives on YouTube that talk about deals that they've turned down, 6-figure deals, some of them, because it just didn't align with what they were trying to push out, and it would kind of turn them into something that would go against what they've been trying to push out, which I admire, and I think that's just the right thing to do. Yeah, $100 million, good for Joe. If you can crank out, I don't even know the total amount of hours that is, thousands and thousands of hours of content. Attention is very valuable in 2020 and moving forward, and he's got a listenership, I'm sure, the size of Florida or more. Spotify will make their money back and some. And when you look at other creatives that make a lot of money, I mean, Jerry Seinfeld would make, 20 million per per special. I think Ricky Gervais as well would make a crazy amount, tens of millions of dollars for stand-up specials. I think it's hard for the average middle class person and, I don't know, the average Joe to think of just how much money that is, $100 million. That's a lot of money. But I think one thing that, he's very relatable, Joe, and he's done a good job at, comes across humble and real, and he's an everyday Joe that a lot of people, I think, can relate to. And he offers a lot of different perspectives, which is good. And the medium of 2.5 to 3.5 hours allows listeners to really enjoy something that they don't get from traditional forms of media, because you can't peel away the layers. It's just bite-size vomit tweets and bits of information packaged into 25 minutes, say on TV for the news. I'd rather get news or information or stuff that's going on through podcasts. And I'm not alone there. And I just think it's a great step forward for podcasts. But I will say, I hope that for people wanting to get into the space, check your intentions, be conscious of the content that you're putting out and why you are doing podcasts. I will say it again, the reason why I got into podcasts was to learn how to improve communication skills, improve listening, improve any tics that I might or might not pick up in listening to myself after I've recorded the conversation. One of the reasons why I'm doing this vlog is to also pick up any visual communication tics or things that I think I could improve on. So it's a lot of self-improvement reasons why I'm doing it, and also enriching relationships with people that I'm interested in connecting with, and learning new things, and also being curious. And I got that from both Joe and Tim Ferriss, and I just think good for him. That's awesome. Sorry, my allergies are acting up today, but anyways, that's my thoughts. I think I'm just gonna keep it at that. It's just gonna be Joe Rogan podcast today. I'll hit up a couple other thoughts with you guys in the next episode, but kudos to Joe and to all the other creatives out there. Just, gives everyone something to think about, and let me know what you guys think about the deal. Comment below. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube and whichever podcast platform you're listening on, because this will be converted into audio and pushed out onto my podcast. But kudos to Joe, and for all the creatives out there, keep creating, and until next time, cheers guys.